Seattle News Weekly from Fox 13.
Well, hello and welcome to Seattle News Weekly. I'm Bill Wixey alongside Matthew Smith, who I wanted to chat with about some of the big news topics of the week. And we begin with the sale of the Seattle Seahawks. And this was news that we expected. It was an announcement that was made prior to the Super Bowl, some inklings that this was, coming down the pike. And now that they won the Super Bowl, you can't think of a better time to unload that asset as they were required to do by the court. So Jody Allen and the Allen estate now will divest with the Seahawk property, and this is going to be a sale. They are estimating around $7 to $8 billion.
Yeah, and I've seen some people inflate it even higher. I guess it just kind of depends on how deep the pockets is of the fish that you eventually reel in on this one. It's exciting times if you think about it from a perspective of philanthropy. I know the Allen Family Foundation, they do a lot of stuff in and around our area, so that's super exciting from that perspective. But obviously, if you're a Seahawk fan, I think you just get a little bit worried because owners don't do that much in the day-to-day, at least not usually. Right. But there are those people that like to put their stamp on a product, and we've seen that. There's a Jerry Jones of the world. There's those types of figures. So I feel like we're kind of on eggshells. Who's the buyer?
Yeah, and so that becomes the next big question. I mean, obviously, it's almost certainly when you're talking about those kind of numbers, it's going to be somebody with deep pockets, and probably an amalgamation of a number of people with deep pockets. So, this is just complete speculation, but these are the names that are floating around. These are names that I've seen, kind of bandied about on social media and also on, reputable news sources. Jeff Bezos would make a lot of sense, as his ties with Amazon. Bill Gates, who has notoriously kind of shied away from being a part of sports ownership. Mackenzie Scott, Jeff Bezos' ex. A handful of out of market millionaires, billionaires that have been linked to NFL ownership at some point. Steve Ballmer, an interesting name. Obviously great Seattle ties. He was the CEO of Microsoft, and now he is the owner of the LA Clippers. And he was also part of that group with Chris Hansen that was attempting to buy the Seattle Supersonics back in the day when he did move on to the LA Clippers. Larry Ellison's name, the owner of Oracle, is another name being bandied about. How do you see this shaken out?
So I think there's two names that I think from a newsy perspective are truly interesting that I've wanted to talk about a lot lately. Obviously, first and foremost, you have Jeff Bezos. And I did see the New York Times amazingly has a reporter that specifically just talks about billionaires. They only report on billionaires. And they had done some reporting around the Washington Commanders sale. And they mentioned in that reporting, now this wasn't tied directly to Bezos, I think it was people around him, but the New York Times reporter had talked about how Bezos didn't go all in on a bid for the Commanders because he was looking ahead to a potential sale of the Seahawks. Now I saw that from the New York Times. This is back when the Commanders were being sold. So have things changed? I don't know. But then the other one is Ballmer. And I think Ballmer may be your best option. I mean, this guy could come in here. He's got a wallet that could crush every other owner in the NBA. So it wouldn't harm him that he owns the Clippers. He wouldn't have to divest. He could buy another team. He has the money to do that, and he has the ties to the area. So I think that's like a match made in heaven. However, one thing I just don't see people talking about too much when Ballmer's name gets floated out there, he is currently tied up in an investigation about trying to circumvent the cap space in the NBA. And this is really nerdy stuff for those who haven't been paying attention. But basically, he tried to pay people more money than they're allowed to, and now there's an NBA investigation. And the one thing about a sale of an NFL team, the other owners have to sign off. And if they have the word that he may be trying to work around some of the less rich owners and try to strong arm and grab players in a way that wouldn't be allowed in the NBA, would they be a little hesitant to sign off on a deal for him to own an NFL team?
I think that's definitely something to consider. There are some practical reasons to sell beyond the momentum of winning a championship for the Allen estate. A clause requiring 10% of sale proceeds to go to Washington State expired in May of 2024. So that potentially saves the estate over $1 billion on a transaction now valued between, like we were saying, like what, 7 to 10, 11 billion dollars. That's really remarkable. The last sale in the NFL was the Washington Commanders, as you mentioned, and that was back in 2023. And you think about when Paul Allen bought this franchise, he paid $100 million for the Hawks, $100 million towards the new stadium, which is a palace.
Good investment.
That's like, I mean, if the sales price was, say, $7 billion, I mean, a $200 million investment, it's like a $6,000 or 6,000% ROI. That's a pretty nice investment if you have the scratch.
Well, and I've read up on reporting about some of this stuff before. I've not done any of my own original reporting, but I've really leaned into reading these articles about the benefits of owning a team. And it's not just the amount of money you get back from it, but there are ways to kind of protect yourself from various taxes, because you can write off losses on teams year after year after year for hundreds of millions of dollars, whether it's renovating a stadium or sunk costs into something tied to the team on the periphery. There are so many tax benefits to owning a team. So while there's only so many people that have billions with a B amount of dollars to invest in this, as you noted, you could have various people involved in the process, the way this works. I think that there will be people lining up to do this, because you see how the prices keep going up, the inflation of it. You're doing better than sitting in the stock market someplace at this point, which is already one of the better ways to do it. So I don't know you can get a better return on investment, not to mention tax breaks.
Okay, talking about big money, I wanted to get into the Millionaires Tax, which has made its way through the Senate. It's now being bandied about in the State House. The Senate passed this so-called Millionaires Tax, 27-22 vote, which approves a 9.9% tax on personal income over $1 million annually. And this will fund education and health care, so going to some needed places. But this bill faces strong opposition and now moves to the House. Governor Ferguson now saying it needs significant tax relief for working families in order to get his signature. So from the best of your understanding, where does it stand? Do you think it's going to pass in its current form?
So in its current form, I find it hard to believe, only because they're all looking for that signature at the end of the day. What does it matter if it passes the House and the Senate, but it doesn't get inked at the end of the day? So you
think it's possible that Ferguson just vetoes it in the end if he doesn't get what he wants for working families, as he says?
I will say he was asked that question directly at the last press conference. So we were covering it on the Fox Local Live Desk. I was listening in, and I was laser focused when I heard that question asked. And he basically swatted it away and said, I don't deal with hypotheticals. But then he reiterated, but I have been strongly recommending. So I don't know what the intent was there, but my assumption is that he's making it known what he wants to see change-wise with this, because at the end of the day, he expects changes to be made. Now, is he hoping for a few small changes? Is he expecting everything? I won't pretend to know what's in the governor's head, but I do think that Democrats that are driving this will be taking that into consideration.
Hannah Kim has a deeper dive on what the Millionaires Tax actually entails.
With the Senate passing the so-called millionaires income tax, it is now on the House side with less than a month left before the legislature is done for the year. If it passes, the income tax on the wealthy is expected to generate around $3.7 billion every year starting in 2028. Governor Ferguson is pushing for the millionaires tax, but today he says he cannot support how his Democratic colleagues want to spend the billions.
If you make $1.2 million, if you're fortunate enough to be in that category, you're taxed on $200,000, right? The $200,000 above the $1 million. It does not count the value of your home.
Any individual or married couple who makes $1 million or more will be subjected to the 9.9% tax under the current proposal that passed the Senate floor yesterday.
I remain optimistic that we'll get there on the millionaires tax. I do.
Governor Ferguson believes taxing the wealthy is the answer, but he disagrees with how the billions in revenue would be spent under the proposal right now.
Any bill I sign must send a significant percentage of the revenue back to Washington families and small business owners. We are not there yet, and we are still not close to being there.
Ferguson says he wants about $1 billion of the revenue to go to the smallest businesses to cut their B&O taxes, and wants nearly $400 million invested to expand the working families tax credit. Ferguson is pushing to expand the program so an additional 460,000 families can get a check from the state for expenses. Other Democrats on the Senate floor also push for the measure, arguing these points.
It will generate billions for schools, for health care, housing, and higher education.
I've heard support from my constituents. My constituents know that our schools are underfunded and they're willing to pay more in taxes.
Outside of arguing that the so-called millionaires' income tax violates the state constitution, Republicans tried to put an amendment to keep the tax at the million or more level. Senator Jamie Peterson, the main sponsor of the measure, fought against that amendment, ultimately killing the effort.
At this point, the cutoff has passed. The time for consideration in committee of such a measure is past. It's prohibited.
This bill represents the largest tax increase this century at a time when state revenues have never been higher, Mr. President.
It's not lowering the cost of fuel. Nothing in this bill is for tax relief now.
Republicans say in 2024, 50% of all state and local taxes were paid by Washington businesses.
And we clearly do not have a revenue problem, but we definitely have a spending problem. We're going to end up losing jobs in a lot of these businesses.
Well, the governor also threw out his support today for some other tax relief efforts underway right now, which includes a reprieve from a sales tax when it comes to hygiene products. Ferguson also says he wants that extended to diapers as well. As for the millionaires' income tax, a House Finance Committee will be the next group to debate the proposal.
All right, so that was Hannah Kim reporting there. And I think, a couple of things to note here is that some of the opponents say that this is a slippery slope, that this could lead to a universal income tax in our state. And Democrats are moving, straight forward with this, saying that they have the support of their constituents. It would affect less than 1% of the wealthiest households. So there is that. Guys like you and me don't have to really worry about this. But, we just celebrated the Seahawks, okay?
Yeah.
Sam Darnold took home $33 million last year, okay? So if he's taxed on $32 million of that, then he's paying over $3 million in taxes a year. And when you start talking about state income taxes to athletes and trying to get their services in free agency, they definitely start doing some math and realize, well, gosh, I would be making $3 million less with the state income tax there. That's something to consider. And also with us trying to get the Sonics back, and the NBA Board of Governors are going to meet and discuss expansion at their meeting coming up next month. They're going to be looking at all aspects of potential states. So primarily Washington and Nevada, Las Vegas and Seattle are the front runners for NBA expansion, and hopefully we get it done. But if you're an NBA player and your average salary is $11 million a year, and you're looking at paying 9.9% tax on $10 million,
almost $1 million.
It becomes an issue, right?
Yeah, and it's one of the more interesting things about this millionaire tax because, Democrats have put out lots of numbers that they've had on polling that shows people support it. I think what you heard from Governor Ferguson there is trying to thread this needle of, okay, what are the negatives that we're going to hear from this? And the negatives are obviously going to be like, well, if you're super rich or if you make a ton of money and you are movable, if your job doesn't require you to be in this state, will you just pick up and move to a place where you don't have to deal with a tax like this? Now, there are state income taxes in some other places, so it does limit where you could go, but they may not be as high as 9.9%.
Yeah.
So it's a very slippery slope. I think Democrats know that, and I think that's why Governor Ferguson came out on that original plan and basically said, listen, if we're going to do this, I want to allocate where this money is going to go so it doesn't go into the general fund. And that was a big part of this because I think he knows that John Q. Public probably would support, tax somebody else that makes a crap ton more money than me. Like, that's just the bottom line. People are going to be okay with that. But if that money isn't going someplace that makes your life easier, then why do you want to buy into it if there are negatives? And I think, potentially driving away multi-million-dollar athletes, the celebration that you can get from sports, people will get upset about that. So it will probably become a talking point in the near future about this bill.
Yeah.
But I think they're trying to play some offensive PR, if you will, I think, with trying to say, no. If we raise billions of dollars, we're going to earmark it for this, this, and this so that your daily costs come down so you're behind this. That's how I'm reading it.
Well, they also included what they call a necessity clause in this bill that prevents it from being subject to a public referendum. The Republicans tried to remove that. They were unsuccessful. But there is widely expected to be some sort of a citizen-led initiative that would be put on the ballot. And we know that there will be a lot of money behind a movement like that.
And not to mention, we will definitely see a lawsuit. If this passes, there will be a lawsuit. Governor Ferguson has been blunt about that. He has a legal background, so I'm not going to question him on that. I'm pretty positive he knows that's going to happen. It's just a matter of, is the language strong enough? If you pass this, does it go someplace? That's why I don't think anybody's expecting any real money to come from this anytime soon. We're projecting years down the line, which is why Republicans have attacked this with that line of questioning, saying this doesn't do anything today. That part is true. I guess we just wait and see where it lands with the voters if there's a statewide referendum, though.
I want to be half as excited about anything as the folks that waited all night in line at Raising Cane's, the first Raising Cane's in our state. It opened up on 45th in Seattle, right on the Ave, and it was pandemonium earlier this week. Shira Matsuzawa was talking with some of the first folks in line.
I am so excited. I've been waiting so long.
All right, next winner.
Me and my friends had traveled all the way down to Portland, Oregon just to get Raising Cane's.
Oh, did you win?
No, I didn't. I'm crossing my fingers. Long awaited though. We're both so excited. Yeah. The sauce is the secret. The sauce is so good. Yeah, the secret is cane sauce. Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's so good. Have you had it before?
Yeah.
It's so good.
For folks who may not have had it before, describe it for me.
Oh, you got me there. I don't know. It's like how would you describe cane sauce?
6,
Yes, creamy, it's savory. It's its own sauce. Like, you really have to try it, you know? I don't know. I'm really good at describing.
Hi, I'm feeling excited, honestly.
Yeah.
We've been out here for like 10 hours. Worth it.
So cold and tired. We want to win so bad.
Is that what brought you out here? That's why you came out here?
100% the raffle.
You got this thing. I've got all the swag.
Yeah.
How would you feel, though, if you don't win this raffle? I mean, you've been out here all night.
It was an experience.
We're going to do it again when the Linwood one opens up.
That's true.
You've got another chance to do it.
Yeah, so not our only shot. So it's fine. Plus we get free swag.
Yeah, you get the free swag. They were hoping to win like free canes for a year and stuff like that they were giving away to some of the first people that were able to get in there. And I'm like, what is Raising Cane's? Like, I'd never even heard of it. I didn't know anything about it. And everyone was like, whoa, Raising Cane's is coming. It's the new Chick-fil-A. I don't know. Are you familiar?
I know Raising Cane's. I didn't realize that it hadn't reached out here in mass the way it has in other states that I've lived in the past. I like Raising Cane's. I would never consider waiting outside. Although, I guess if you think you're going to win free canes for a year, that is, I mean, hey, talk about...
I mean, if you're into it.
Well, I mean, free food is free food. I mean, if it's free, it's for me.
True, especially if you're, college aged, and I mean, it makes perfect sense, right?
The thing that gets me, though, is I want to laugh at anyone that stands out there that long. But on the flip side, I have this nostalgia for a time. And you lived through this with me. As journalists, we used to go outside at like midnight, 1 a.m., morning overnight shows, and people be lined up at Best Buy so they'd get that doorbuster.
Yeah.
That's like a yesteryear thing. Online has ruined all that. So while I want to like mock this in some way.
Or like waiting in line for concert tickets.
Yeah. Like we've lost that, Bill. Like where did that go? And so... part of me wants to mock this. Like, it's just fast food. But the other side is like, man, I remember covering those stories and seeing those people, and there was camaraderie. It was fun. Like, I get the excitement because out of context, those people sound crazy to me. But if you then put it into context, like, oh man, like they just waited outside for hours and everybody's just happy. It doesn't matter what your background is. You're just all together and you're there to have a good time. Like, I can vibe with that.
I thought it was great. And they were so excited that Raising Cane's came here. And then we threw out a mega poll. What, I guess, chain restaurant do you really wish we had here in Western Washington? What would be the top of your list?
What made the winning one here?
Well, In-N-Out wasn't an option on there. That would have been my choice. There were several others. I don't even remember what they were. But what would be like for you? Like is there a place somewhere in your childhood, in your memory, in your existence that you just pine for?
I do love Whataburger. If you've ever been to the South.
So there you go. So that was one of them.
Yeah, Whataburger is definitely one of them, and you have to say it that way. If you say Whataburger, it's like you've never been there. I love Whataburger.
What is it about Whataburger that is so special?
Oh man, and I lived in El Paso, Texas for a while, and they had this green hatch chile. So it's hatch. If you've never had hatch chile, it's a fantastic chile, and it's only grown in a certain spot. Hatch, New Mexico, and in the locals in that area, like Texas and New Mexico, they had a double cheeseburger that was just smeared in Hatch green chile, and it is to die for. I may have had a lot of them at like 2-3 in the morning after some extracurricular activities with my buddies, and it was just a great meal. So I missed that. So I don't know if it's nostalgia. I mean, honest to God, if I ate it right now, Bill, I don't know if I'd still like it. But in my head, Whataburger.
I have similar thoughts about Dick's.
Yeah,
because like it's the Seattle late night go-to. But there's a potential downside there.
Yeah.
If you go in too large. Matthew Smith, thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Happy to be
on the
here.
Seattle News Weekly podcast. I got to let you get back now and do the Seattle news live stream that you're doing every single day.
Fox Local Live Desk. I'm chained to that desk for most time of the day. So if you tune in, you see me. So you broke me free. You broke my chains for a few minutes.
Yes. Love to have you. And by the way, you can find new episodes of the Seattle News Weekly podcast every Thursday. You can watch them on the Fox Local app, fox13seattle.com, and your Seattle YouTube channel for Fox 13. And you can listen anywhere you get your podcast. We will see you again next week.
Seattle News Weekly is available wherever you get your podcast.